Hello, welcome to the Ranger's Respite. I'm Philip, and this is Tales from the Tabletop. I don't have any guests for this week, but I have a story that a friend wrote down for me to tell on the condition that I not say his name, so his DM doesn't know who told the story. I will be reading it as best as I can. There will be mistakes because I'm not real good at this. So, directly from the story. I have a friend who's a terrible DM. Great guy most of the time, just a bad DM. He found rules for a combat shock system for 5e and wanted to run a campaign with those rules. It would be cool at higher levels, I think, but at low level it isn't as much fun. And we were starting at level 1. We were H, a paladin of court, super basic but with his own flair and a first time player. D, a cleric of life, again super basic but a first time player. K, the bard, cool guy aesthetic, built to be versatile. D2, the ranger, a bit edgy to hide that he is literally scared of everything, and G, the warlock, who I don't remember anything about. Now, the shock rules are pretty simple. If you take 20% or more of your max hit points and damage in a single attack, you make a con save or be stunned until the end of your next turn. If you take 50% or more of your max hit points in damage, you are automatically knocked prone and have to make a con save or be rendered unconscious. Again, might be cool in a high-level game. But we were level 1. And the first combat encounter we had, we were facing a bunch of goblins. Initiative could have gone better. It went Goblin 1, D, H, Goblin 2, Goblin 3, D2, K, Goblin 4, Goblin 5, and then G. Well, the first Goblin, Goblin 1, got a hit on H and did 4 points of damage, 33% of his max hit points. I did the math on this. And H just failed the con save and was stunned. D tries to Sacred Flame Goblin 1, who makes a dex save. H can't use his turn because he's stunned. Goblin 2 hits K for 5 damage, 50% of max HP, and K is knocked prone automatically, but he makes his con save with a natural 20. Goblin 3 hits D for 4 damage, 44% of max hit points. D fails the save and is stunned. D2 hits Goblin 1 with a longbow for 8 points of damage, dropping it. K uses half of his movement to stand up and provokes an opportunity attack from Goblin 2 and takes 3 points of damage for his trouble, 30% of max hit points. Fails to save and is stunned. Goblin 4 hits D2 with a short bow arrow for 8 points of damage, 80% of max hit points. Fails to save and is prone and unconscious. Goblin 5 hits H for 4 points of damage. H fails to save and is stunned. Again. G hits Goblin 2 with Eldritch Blast for 4 points of damage. No save seems to be rolled, and the Goblin does not appear to be stunned or knocked prone. So, at the top of the second round, the Paladin is stunned, the Cleric is stunned, the Bard is stunned, the Ranger is knocked out, and the Warlock is okay, just nervous and squishy. While only one Goblin has been dropped and one other damaged. Not going great. Second round of combat was worse. Goblin 2 hits K for 4 points of damage, knocking him out. Goblin 3 hits D for 5 points of damage and knocks him out. D2 is still unconscious. K fails his first death saving throw. Goblin 4 fires an arrow at G, does 6 points of damage, 66% of max HP. G fails to save and is knocked out. Goblin 5 attacks H and misses. Top of the third round, Paladin is up. Everyone else is down. He is facing 4 goblins. Third round was short. Starts with D making his first death saving throw and passing. Then H kills Goblin 5, and then the round ends with Goblin 2 hitting him for 6 points of damage, him failing to save and being knocked unconscious. The DM was mad at the party for doing so poorly. And now, because I feel the need some commentary, I reached out to one of the other people that I knew was involved in this game who wasn't the DM, and it's like, hey, I heard a funny story about a one-shot that you guys did. And his response was, oh, you mean the one that wasn't supposed to be a one-shot? And it turns out that not only did he wipe the whole party on their first combat encounter, he was like, okay guys, well let's start over again, and ran them past a different combat encounter with fewer kobolds, and they still had a hard time, and then awarded XP strangely, and so far they have not let him DM again. Personally, I don't blame them terribly much. I'm not a real big fan of meat grinder games. Like, even as a DM, I feel really awkward about purposefully throwing my players' characters into a scenario where they are probably going to die, and that's kind of the aim. It just seems kind of shitty. So, If you are out there thinking about running a meat grinder game, make sure that you talk to your players about it and be like, hey, this game is going to be brutal. Your player will, or your character will likely die. By the way, don't kill your players. Killing players is generally frowned upon by law enforcement. Your characters will likely die and it will be rough. And I just, just putting it out there, maybe make sure that all of your players are okay with exactly how brutal your game is going to be. Anyway, I think that makes this a relatively short episode, which is just fine. I will see you all next time, Monday. So, until then, stay happy, stay geeks, sláinte.